Hey, I'm Tommy Colletti. We're here at the Music Zoo today with the Charlie Parra. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Anytime. So, I got turned on to you, actually. I knew about your guitar before I knew about you, okay?
Awesome.
And so many things about the guitar I want to talk about. But before we started filming, you had said something that we all thought was really funny, which you should mention when we were talking about Floyd Roses. Maybe you should tell me a little bit about that.
That I'm afraid of two things in life. One is taxes, and the other one is breaking a string with a whammy bar live on stage. To me, those things are scary.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So hence,
it has happened when I was a teenager, and yeah, it stays there. It's here for life. That moment is something that I will. It's like when that horse drowns in the never-ending story. It's something like that. I'll never forget that.
So we'll talk about your guitar a little bit, but I have questions for you. So I did a deep dive into who you are, what you do, and I found a lot of things that I had questions about. So let's start with, first of all, like, it seems, even though you're a younger player and you have a lot of the shred ability of like the newer players and stuff like that, when I watch you play, you pull riffs from the 70s, you pull riffs from the 80s and stuff like the open string things and like pull-offs and trills and stuff, and your vibrato and things are very reminiscent of another time, which I find fantastic, right? Because you're not just pulling from one spot and you have this great melody, but you're also like, you're pulling from different genres of players. So somebody like me, who's an old dude now, could look and go, like, look at his vibrato, how cool is that? And he's got great sense of melody, so I love that about your playing, so I wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, like, most guitar players have like this stew or this soup of, you know, like their influences and who they are into. And because you have all these things, I thought it would be interesting to talk to you about like where some of that's pulled from.
Well, that's because I'm from Peru. That's in South America. I'm from Lima. And the thing is that at home in the 90s, it's Peru. There was no internet. So some things would arrive a little bit later, right? But the main thing is that when I was 15 years old, I started playing guitar. Not because I wanted to play guitar. It was because actually a school therapist told my parents that I should play guitar because I was a problem child. And that will help me to, you know, focus on my grades and, you know, be a better student, which did not happen. but I was a guitar player now, and I love guitar. Thing is that it was like the early thousands, so there was no guitar solos back then on the mainstream.
That's true.
It was pop punk, new metal, that's it. No guitar solos. Pretty cool riffs though.
Right, sure.
So when I went back to the 80s, you know, for learning purposes, right? For me, the 80s were something totally new. You know, it was like everybody was having, you know, those like red caps, you know, turn this way, you know, the white sneakers, right? The baggy pants and all that stuff. Yeah. I had those, but I preferred, you know, the 80s stuff.
Right. And with that, some of those 80s guitar players came in. So I hear, when I listen to you playing, I hear Randy Rhodes, a lot of Randy Rhodes. And then I also, so we'll talk deeper about Randy Rhodes. You have a YouTube video that's out that's got like millions of views of you playing Mr. Crowley. Yeah. And I'm a snob when it comes to certain guitar players, and I guess we all are in the guitar community, because we've seen a lot of people play the guitar, and you know, after a while you become numb to certain things.
I think so.
And I've seen people in cover bands try to attempt that stuff, as you know, like as well as myself. Like it's just like, and you nail it. You nail the passion, you nail the notes, you nail all the stuff. Like I feel like you took a combination of like maybe potentially what he did on the Blizzard album and then maybe some of the live stuff too, and you snuck it in there a little bit. When's the first time you heard Randy Rhodes? Did you take you back like that? I have to do that. Like did it not have that effect on you initially, or?
I have to say that I did not heard about Randy Rhodes, not even the radio, or not even because somebody gave me a record or anything like that. I knew about Randy Rhodes thanks to the TV show The Osbournes. And I remember there was this moment where Kelly Osbourne performed live with her band. I can't believe I'm talking about this. But the thing is that I saw that performance, and I saw that there were some elements on the guitar that I really liked about the performance.
Sure.
And the thing is, in the soundtrack of this TV series, there were like little patterns of Crazy Train. So I get to listen to Crazy Train. I was already playing guitar. And when I listened to Crazy Train for the first time, said, I gotta practice a lot to do that, right? And I think that was one of the moments when I said, I wanna have, because before that, my dream was to have a Les Paul. That was the dream of my life. But I said, yeah, these are really expensive. And I worked in bars, playing guitar, of course. And I saved money like for 3 years in a row to get my Les Paul. I get my Les Paul. I get my hands on my first Les Paul. And Randy was a Les Paul player as well. Yes. So I get my hands on a Les Paul. I played it for like 6 hours straight. And I said, I think I'm a Flying V guy. and that's how I found like a really, really cheap deal on a Flying V guitar. And I said, now I have both, right? Like the Flying V and the Les Paul, right? And I think that I could associate more that V guitar with Randy.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, you know, he was doing like tapping licks and really crazy stuff that I said, it sounds great on the V.
Yeah.
And I think it's the whole factors. It's not just the playing, it's how he looked while playing. He looked like he was having such a great time and at the same time so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that's how it was.
It's interesting that you took some of the elements of a Les Paul and you put it on a guitar that most of us know is just, you just go directly, you default to a Floyd Rose or some kind of tremolo on a Kramer. So most of the Kramers that I think of have a tremolo on them. So now you default to like the Les Paul setup, right? Pretty much, I mean, minus the tone knobs and stuff.
Yes.
I think that's interesting. And your guitar, because I've spent some time playing your guitar, and one of the questions I had for Charlie was, is your guitar, your personal guitar, different than the one that we sell here at the Music Zoo? And your answer was?
Not at all. They're the same. They're exactly the same guitars. I think that, you know, sometimes when people buy a new guitar, you know, they want it to get fixed, a few things here and there. And that's what I thought was going to happen if I'm going to put my hands on a Charlie Parra Vanguard, a retail one. But no, it was, you know, perfect.
Yeah. And what
you just mentioned this, like it has some Les Paul things. And it's because I love, you know, I love Randy, I love Eddie, but I love Slash too. I love Billy Daffy too. They don't use tremolo bars.
No.
I had to pick that detail for me.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned Eddie, because at least my favorite, I mean, I love all Van Halen stuff.
I could tell.
But the first 2 or 3 records were recorded mostly with that Destroyer, which is stop tail, you know, like an Explorer, basically, an Explorer body. It's the Eruption and guitar and songs like that he's using the bar that's actually the Charvel style guitar or whatever, the Strat style guitar, but most of it is more of the setup that you have, you know.
That's cool to know. That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Another takeaway that I found was the pickups. Maybe you could talk about the pickups a little bit, because I had to ask you if they were passive or active, because I wasn't really sure, because they didn't behave like a normal EMG to me.
I used to have the 81 and 85, the classic ones, in my previous guitar. And I had this advice from an EMG guy back in the day that told me, Charlie, we have these prototypes. They're the 57 and 66. I think you're gonna love these pickups. And I got my hands on those prototypes and I said, these are the pickups I want to use for the rest of my life.
Right.
And it's because I think that they have this pretty dynamic range. They're pretty warm.
Yeah.
That's the thing, they're warm. And it's not the first time somebody asks if they're passive or actives, right? And I think that's the magic of these pickups.
Yeah.
That they have that warmth.
it didn't sound like an 81 or an 85 to me, and it didn't sound like I'm usually pretty good because I hear thousands of guitars at this point. I'm good at identifying like what a pickup is, or and I was confused. I was like, and it's great. So it was a great addition and a great find for your guitar and for your tone, which is unique to yourself, which is great too. Who were some of the other influences besides Randy and Eddie?
Definitely Slash. Slash is one of them. Michelangelo Baggio as well. He was the first guitar player I saw, and I watched that he was playing and there was no band. He was just backing tracks and straight to the shredding. Like the vocals are in the guitar, right? It's not like songs with guitar solos. It's like a long guitar solo, but the solo is like the lead vocals, right? And I would add, actually, that you mentioned the open string stuff. I really like what Robbie Krieger, The Doors.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love his stuff. I love Dino Caceres, Fear Factory, killer rhythm guitar player. I love him. Kirk Hammett as well. It's like everybody has, like at this point, everyone has grown up listening to Kirk's guitars. Yeah. With the wah pedal or without it, right? Yeah. There are so many, but I could mention this right now because I think those are the ones that I'm listening in my playlist. And lately, I would say Bruce Kulick and Vinnie Vincent.
Okay. If you had to give me like, I don't know, 5 of your favorite guitar solos that like just stick out to you, that like you just sit and when you pick up your guitar you play over and over again just because you love them so much.
Stairway to Heaven, Sweet Child of Mine, Enter Sandman. No, I'm kidding. No, I gotta pick Mr. Crowley, Randy. I think that guitar solo is not just a guitar solo, it's a masterclass. It's like, it has all the elements. It's so epic, it's so fast, jet melodic.
Yes.
And it's even bluesy. It has a lot of blues stuff. It has everything. I gotta go for November Rain, Slash. It's one of my favorites. Actually, one of my favorites.
I watched you play that on Instagram, and I was telling Jordan behind the camera just before. I was just like, I've seen a lot of people play that, including Slash, and a lot of the nuances are missed sometimes. But not you. You grabbed it. You got it all. Like the vibratos and the slow, gentle like bends and everything. Like it was.
And the hair.
And the hair too. You just missed standing in the middle of the desert, right? Like with your shirt off, like playing the solo.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was doing in that video, right?
Or
like,
coming out of the water, like Strange. Yeah.
Give me a couple more.
I would pick also, of course, I've got to pick Van Halen, but I love so many of his stuff that it's pretty hard to choose. I would go really cliche and say Eruption, right? Sure. But one of my favorite Van Halen songs is On Fire. It was the first time I heard something that I said, oh my God, it's insane. And it was exactly that part where he's doing it. And all the harmonic stuff. And it was like a pretty fast-paced song, right? And I would go for On Fire. I don't know how to play that solo. I bet you do. But it's one of my favorites.
I know it the halfway way, but I know it, yeah.
It's between that one and the one in I'm the One. I love both.
It's funny that you mentioned On Fire, because I saw Van Halen in the early 80s. I think it was Fair Warning Tour. And I was 14 years old or so in Madison Square Garden. And the room was silent. That's their opening song. Everybody just came, they came out and it was just like blistering energy. But the place was silent until he finished that guitar solo. And as soon as he finished the guitar solo, the entire Madison Square Garden like just stood up and was like, ah! Because I think that there was still an element of like, I don't really know how he does all this stuff. Is this real, or is this somebody speeding up the record? Or is he just gonna kind of like like halfway it, like instead of
Yeah.
really. And when he killed it, like the place went bananas, and it was just like, he's real, he's that amazing.
Place went bananas.
The place went bananas. So I get that, and there's like tons of high energy in that and everything like that. Is there before we part? Is there anything that you'd like to promote or anything that you'd like to talk about while you got our zoo audience in front
Just
of you?
mention 3 more guitar solos, like really quick.
Yeah.
Richie Blackmore's solo in Burn. I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Ace Frehley in Detroit Rock City. I love that. Na 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 na
Right.
na. It's like something you can sing.
That was written by Bob Ezrin. That part, the producer of Destroyer, wrote that part of the song.
I'm sorry, Ace.
Ace played it. Ace played it. Ace is the one that played it, but Bob Ezrin wrote that, the producer of Destroyer.
That's amazing.
Amazing,
baby.
right?
I
Amazing.
actually knew that, but it's like Ace looks cool
It's
playing
Ace.
that.
It's
yeah.
Ace. I don't know if people would want to see Bob Ezrin playing it.
Yeah, it's like it's a guitar solo you can sing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I gotta mention the Power Rangers theme song. I love that. It's like it has the tapping, it has the melody, and the riff is super like it's a really badass metal song of a kids TV show, but it's super badass.
You were telling me one other thing which I thought was really funny. You had a run-in with Phil X.
Yes, yes.
And we think he's a great guitar player. So
He's an amazing guitar player. He's a killer, and he's a really sweet dude. He's really cool. Thing is that I was in Nashville. I was about to perform at the Gibson Garage, and I was doing the sound check. And then Phil X, comes to the garage. He's looking guitars, saying hello to everyone. And I'm on the mic, and there's Phil X. And hey, Phil X, and he like turns around, like, who's that guy? Right? And I learned this from I learned this from you, from your Instagram post. And I played like one of Phil X's licks.
right.
And it was really cool to tell him that in his face, because after that we spent like quite some time
That's
talking.
cool. He's what a great guitar player.
I have to add something before we stop this conversation, because there's one thing that actually changed my life forever at some point, and that was the documentary film The Decline of the Western Civilization, the Metal Years.
Okay.
Do you remember the band Odin? Odin.
Potentially. Yeah.
There's this moment in this documentary, it's all about, long hair, spandex, guitar shredding, right? And there was this point where they were all talking about their careers, and that if they don't make it, they're gonna, end up in Skid Row and stuff like that. Right. That's something that, I started saying, I don't want to end up in Skid Row, I want to play guitar, I want to do something about this. And I want to be a foxy guy, like they said in the movie. And it really like one of my favorite films ever.
Charlie Parra, I got a great feeling about you, dude. I think you're gonna go on to like amazing things.
Thank you so much, Tommy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me here.
Cool.
It's like, living the dream.
Yep. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Talk to you soon.